brother.
Hi everybody, my name's Allison. Most people call me Allie. I met Debbie when I was a freshman in high school, and we became really good friends. And you know, there is a saying that friends are the family that you choose. And this is this in this case. The Gibbs is a wonderful, wonderful family. I became a godmother. I got to see my godkids have kids. And hi, Nova, Nancy. This last 7 years has been horrible. Interesting, learning. I mean, Carl was a great man, and probably about, I don't know, it was about 3 months ago when we were up there, and I was talking to him, and he was basically like, oh, you can talk, but I'm not going to talk anymore. And I was like, do you just want me to go downstairs too, you know? So I got up and I hugged him, and he said, Allie, you've always been so good to me. I love you very much. And I walked out and I looked at Debbie and I said, did he just say goodbye to me? And I think he did, but then 3 months later, I'm all, God, I can't do this anymore, Carl. I want to thank him and Debbie for letting me be such a big part of their family, extended family, Gibbs family, everybody. I mean, I've never felt uncomfortable a day in my life with any of them. I remember one time he was screaming at Adam when he was a kid, and I was like, oh, God, I guess I am family. He's not hiding it from us. But to my dear friend Debbie, I'll be there forever for you. We got this, right? We got this. You're surrounded by love. Okay. Love you, Carl. Fuck ALS!
Hello. Not a lot of people know me. I'm Thomas. I'm the oldest Gibbs cousin of our generation. And my childhood, I was raised by my grandmother, Becky, and she carted me around to my Uncle Carl's house and my Aunt Annie's house every weekend. And I was never not one of their sons. I always felt the love for my uncle. I don't know how old, me and Adam were little crazy heckers. And there was these like vine kind of trees down at the end of the cul-de-sac. And we used to hop through them and you know, it was like our fort kind of. And I remember I fell one day and I had this big branch stuck up my leg. And I went and, you know, walked up to Uncle Carl and he's like, wow. And he pulls it out of me. And he goes, how you feeling? And I go, I want to go play with Adam. And he goes, you're just like your dad. And I unfortunately didn't get the chance to meet my father, but I heard that they were like two peas in a pod. And I looked up to my Uncle Carl as a father figure, and I still do to this day. I got to see him. I'm actually in recovery for alcoholism, and I got 18 months, and I got to see him. I got to see him, and he told me how proud he was of me, and that is all I need to keep going and be there for the rest of my family. The Gibbs hearts are so strong, and Yeah, I love you, Uncle Carl, and I miss you, and I know you're watching with my dad and with Grandpa and all our other loved ones. They're probably at a bar. You rustic in.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Nick. I am Carl's son-in-law. He had a daughter, and I was lucky enough to marry her. And when I first got in to the family, it was not always easy because he was such a man of a man, and to come in as a young man. It was just tough to try to prove your point or prove what you're doing in your life. He had this big career, and I was just smoking pot, and dropped out of high school, and he's like, "You're gonna date my daughter?" No, you're not. But we became family. He became my second father. The way Carl would work is I'd go, "Man, my car broke, fucking fix it." And I'm like, "I can't fix it, I don't know how to work." "I'll tell you, you do it, I'll tell you." I'm like, so we'd go out there and working on my truck, and he would just tell me what to do, and I'm like, "Well, are you sure you should do it like that? It doesn't look like you're doing it right, "Oh, God, I got it. You don't gotta tell me, And then I'm like, "Well, on YouTube right here, it's like you should maybe use this pole, and it helps you get the fan off." "Nah, you don't need that." And then, but sure, he was a tough man, and as the years gone on, we became, not just family, we were friends, and we'd sit there and talk about aliens and talk about, conspiracies, and he'd go, "Nah, that's not true. That's," "Nah." We just bounce things back and forth to each other, and I loved it. I used to love sitting there and talking about the what ifs, what if, "Hey, it's 2013, Carl, the world's gonna end." He goes, "I've been saying that for years." Well, it says right here, and then sure enough, world never end, and he goes, "Told you," But I guess for me, I was proud to take care of his daughter. And that was my way, I guess, of telling him I'm a man too, But I'll never forget just our long talks, and I know how to work on a car a little bit from the few times that he taught me, and I'll never forget that, and I'll cherish all those conversations, and I just want to. I see all these people here, and I don't really know many people, and it goes to show you, he dedicated not only his life to his family, but life to his job, his career, and he was very successful in that sense, and he taught me years ago, before he even had ALS, he had gotten, I don't know the details, but he lost his job, and it was heartbreaking to see a man sit on the couch and say, "If there's anything you want to do it, because look at me. I didn't do it." And, he spent his whole life working, and where he lost a lot of his family's life. And that taught me so much that I move in life. The way I move is because of that. I gotta know, life is so much more than just a career. At your last moments, all you got are those memories. and he taught me that. And traveling around the country with his daughter, looking at different sightings, it was just, I got off on watching her smile, you know, because it was just like, you know, let's go see here, because, you know, how much longer we got. And I thank Carl for that, and the edible. But I love you, Carl, and I thank you guys all for coming. I think it's turned out to be amazing. I didn't know how this was going to be, all the people that I don't know, and it's like I know you guys. I remember so many stories. You'd be like, oh yeah, there was this guy at work, you know, and you'd tell me a story about one of someone he worked with, and it's one of you guys, and multiple stories, you know, yeah, this guy this guy that, yeah, this guy had dreads, and this guy this, and you have he had stories about who he worked with all the time, and he would tell me, and I'd learn through these stories of life experiences. Oh yeah, I know he was like a gangster, but he's a good dude, you know. And I'm like, yeah, for sure, you know. It's kind of like I feel I'm a good dude too, you know, like like. But I don't know. I love you, Carl. To think about no more pain and suffering. One thing I guess I want to tap on too is, you know, Carl lost in a lot of time with his family because he spent it with his career. The silver lining for me with this ALS is that not that he was at all a bad father, but it shifted him to become the greatest grandfather in many ways, because I know it was in his head, you realize like just, or whatever, but he took, it's like the love shifted into a different kind of place, and there was a lot of heartache and pain of like, Dad's dying, but he's like different, you know. He's like more caring. He listens more. He was just more, you know, so much more caring and sensitive. And Carl wasn't very sensitive, you know. He wasn't very like, you know, he was a man's man. So, but now, knowing he wasn't going to be here much longer, he took the initiative to be a great grandfather, and so the love grew, and I think that is something I'm going to take, you know, with me with the understanding is he was dying as a man, but became so much more of a loving man from dying like that, and just it was tough to watch, but I think we can all learn something from it, and you know, cherish all these people in your life, you know. Because it's not forever, and we're all getting old. But love you guys, and love you, Carl, and thank you for coming.
Just having a hard time deciding whether or not I come up here and speak, but you all inspired me, so thank you. So I didn't plan anything, so I'll freestyle what I'm about to say.
Who are you?
So I was my dad's firstborn boy, which I believe I was his conscience, I was his reflection, and I was his iron that helped sharpen his iron. It takes iron to sharpen iron. I believe that I was put on earth to help him do that. I now myself have 3 boys, and I'm now dealing with the same thing. When I was a baby, I remember my dad picking me up and throwing me in the air, and the unconditional love, and then I started walking and talking, and that changed a little bit. There was still the throwing up in the air, but also the discipline, which was well deserved, because I always had to have the last word, and I always had to push every button. But I know that as I was growing up, I sought his validation, and it wasn't until I left the house and showed that I could provide for myself and be a responsible man for my family and help provide for them that I really truly earned his respect. It's almost like an unspoken agreement with us men that that's the end goal. Although as I got older and started talking to my dad, as that respect was earned, he started telling me about some of his regrets. He tended to let the little things get to him. And he always told me not to let that happen, but you know, here I am, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing my best, hopefully better. That's the goal. But I'll never forget when he told me to make sure to put my family first. And I recently made a really big decision and took a step back in my career and a $50,000 pay cut to work somewhere that I can be there for my family. Because like Nick said, he put everything into his career, and he allowed that became who he was in a sense. And he told me he didn't want me to do that for myself. It's been hard. It's been hard on my ego going from someone overseeing multiple states as a senior project manager and looking up to me, and engineers calling me for answers and constructability questions, and I'm over here now taking direction from a 20-year-old, but I'll get through it. I'm sure I'll climb that ladder again and get to where I need to be, putting my family first. I know that my dad would be so happy to see everybody here, as I know that just like me, he's made an impact on all of our lives. I didn't work with my dad, but I did observe very, very thoroughly throughout my entire life and watched him peripherally. And I believe that he was a born and raised leader. You know, he knew psychology and he knew people. And as a lot of you have said up here earlier, you know, he tended to not read a book by the cover, but get to know someone for who they are. And he looked at life as a chessboard. And to use a sports analogy, I'll talk about his career. You know, everyone can be an asset. I know there's some snakes in the grass. I'm sure he mowed the lawn as he needed to, but for the most part, this person's not good at third base. He's better at first base. This person's not good at catcher. He's better in center field. And he really played that game well. And he saw these skills and the strengths and weaknesses in everyone and how everyone complemented each other. And I think that he made a lot of decisions, not just at work, but even at home in that regard. And I'm doing my best now to carry on his legacy as his oldest boy. I've now got 3 boys that are Gibbs, and we will do our best to carry his legacy on and continue innovating and doing our best to be better, as I know that's what he would want. And I'd actually like, if you don't mind, for my kids to come up here. Bodie, Elijah, Lotus, and I don't know if my youngest Onyx is sleeping. Come here, Bodie. Where's Lotus? Come here. So, just so everyone, I don't know who got a chance to stand over here to meet my kids, but this is all a reflection of my dad. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And I'm going to do my best to guide them and raise them to be contributors to society. You know what I mean? And not be worthless and on the streets is the goal. So wish me luck. Thank you.
You got this, Bob. You got this.
Good job, bro.
Alrighty, in closing, I didn't think I was going to come up here, but we'll see how much I can say before I start bawling. You know, I met Carl 40 years ago at Kimmel Moats, and I saw this man at the food truck while I was getting my grapefruit juice back in the day, and I kept saying, "Who's that guy?" Well, I must have been describing some awesome man because nobody knew who I was talking about. I kept telling him, "Oh, tall, dark, and handsome, had on tight jeans." Nobody knew. Anyways, lo and behold, we dated, we got married. I stopped working at Kimmel Moats and continued to go to all the Christmas parties, and he took over Las Vegas at one point, and I met some of those people there, and we threw Christmas parties. And Carl had 3 wives. He had me, he had Ramona. Are you still here, Ramona? I don't know if Ramona's still here. There she is in the back, and Stacy Stoller. and you guys can all attest, Carl could be a butthead. Carl said one thing and meant another, and if you didn't know him, kind of was very confusing. But once you got his lingo down, he didn't have a mean bone in his body. He just liked to push people's buttons to get a rise. He thought that was kind of cute. So anyways, to the other two wives, I'd like to say thank you so much for being around and taking care of him, you know, when I wasn't able to be there. All you people, you all have stories. I wouldn't know you without either working for Camel Moats or being married to my husband. There's a lot of sadness for me because there were quite a few people that he really wanted to get in touch with towards the end, but he waited too long. And so for you guys, I hope that you know who you are, and don't let that happen to you in your lives. You know, life is short. Tomorrow is never promised. And I left my job 8 months ago thinking I had 1 month left with Carl. The man had 9 lives. I never thought I was a cry wolf type of a person. You know, I say what I mean and mean what I say, and I cannot tell you, my kids, when I would give them a call, I think this is it. Kid you not, the next day he'd wake up and want pancakes. I mean, praise the Lord, you know. Carl always had to be in control, if you knew that about him, right? And 2 weeks ago, my youngest and I, we still live in the same home. We were like, I wish he was home so we could go upstairs and give him shit. Excuse my French. But it was fun to push his buttons, you know. Dad, give us a high five. Well, he couldn't raise his hands, you know, and then he'd get the gibby face, if you know Carl. But the funnest thing about Carl, and I had to explain to my kids, was I knew it was going to be over when he wasn't able to get up and walk because he had to be in control, and he had lost so much control. So his big thing is we'd pull him up out of the bed to a sitting position. And when I say he could walk, let's call it a shuffle and a really slow, you know, 5-foot shuffle to the love seat. But it made him feel good. And I always told the kids when that ended, he would give up. But the funniest part is, let me tell you, we would pull him up and it was, wait, I'm not ready. And he would have to count 1, 2, and then 3, you would lift him. Why did we count? So Casey and I would joke around and he'd say 1, 2, 3, and you're supposed to lift, and we'd both stand there and he'd say, well, what happened? Well, why are we counting? You can't even move anymore. But that was his control, right? His control of us and thinking that he was still able to do something. So Casey and I, we loved giving him that feeling that he hadn't completely lost control. And those last 2 days, you know, this disease is so horrible. It takes every muscle out of your body, but the brain is 100% there. He knew what we were saying. Up until a week before he passed, I could ask him anything. I mean, I would take pictures, literally. My rearview mirror fell off my car. Well, I'm like, it won't stay on. He says, we got to unscrew it. There's no screw. Debbie, go take a picture. Kid you not, 1 to 2 weeks before he passed, took a picture, showed it to him. Oh, you got to stick an Allen wrench in this thing and blah, blah, blah. Oh, awesome. He was so full of information. But anyways, those last 2 days, so it was 4 to 5 days before he passed, he stopped walking. Again, it's not like he was walking around the room. He would have to tell his brain to move his legs, to shuffle with the walker 5 feet, to sit down. But once that happened, he lost his will to eat because he had lost all his control. But those last 2 days, he couldn't move, but he was there. I was able to sing to him, and he was able to cry. He would move his head when we would ask him things. We called his mother and put her on speaker. And just hearing the conversation and him trying to shake his head. His mouth was already dropped open. But everybody and anybody who knew him and talked to him in those last few days, please know he heard you. And anyways, I'll miss him. 39 years with the man. I'll miss him. He was my butthead, you know? I mean, he was. I hate to say it. But, you know, a couple months prior to him passing, he said, you know, Deb, we did it. And what did we do? You know, and again, his voice was now changed at this point, too. So you're like a dog. Did I understand what you said? And I said, what did we do? Well, not only did we have the 4 kids and the grandkids that he absolutely treasured, and he felt like he wasn't a good dad because he was at work so much. And then you get home and you're young and you're tired and you don't have the patience. But once he had these grandkids, it all changed. But anyways, back to what we did. We outlived our vows, for better, for worse, richer and poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. And I'm so glad, because I don't know how many of you guys are having this 100% marriage, and I hate to bring this up, but you know what? It's so easy to walk away. Could have done it. He could have done it. But life is ups and downs, goods and bads. And I think that's just what life is. And then all my children and my grandkids, and his biggest fear was that the grandkids being so young would forget him. But we've got a lot of videos and a lot of memories. So anyways, again, thank you guys for coming. And I'm sure he's shining down on this beautiful blue day. And just so happy to see all of you here. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. You're so pretty. I'm so beautiful.